Awesome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Whether it's the morning, afternoon, or evening for you, we really do appreciate you joining the session. We have a ton of new functionality that we'll be covering today. So I'm going to try and get through as much of it as possible and leave questions for last. If we have enough time for the questions, super happy to take them. If not, we will then schedule one-on-ones with anybody that requires additional assistance. Right, so first of all, in true Salesforce sort of fashion, thank you. Thanks all of our clients, all of our prospect clients, and anyone who's on the call today that's helping to drive and fuel our product. And I think a lot of you will be watching today's session and be thinking, wow, that was actually something I mentioned to the Sparksmiths team, or they're actually listening to me. And that's something we take great pride in building out. We do listen to our clients and we want to make our product as good as it can get. So genuinely, if you do have any features, functionality, recommendations, ideas, send them through to us and we'll definitely entertain them. Now, first things first, I'm just going to introduce the team that will be on the call today. Obviously, there's a lot more team members behind the scenes that I'm super grateful for that are doing a lot of the hard technical work. But on today's session, a lot of you are familiar with myself. I'm Kyle LeBron. I'm one of the co-founders of Sparksmiths. We then have Michael Bernardes. He actually heads up the customer success team, customer experience team. And if you actually have any questions or queries and you contact our support center, you're probably getting through to him and his team, and he's going to work and do his best to make sure that he gets through to you in a timelessly manner and actually gets those questions done. We then got Mike Farr. Mike Farr helps us with sales and expert services. So Mike is one of the sales team members, but he's got a special attribute. He's really good at training. So he doubles up as a salesperson and one of our trainers. And I'm sure a lot of you on the call today have actually been trained by Mike. So thanks for that, Mike. And then lastly, a new addition to the team is Noel. Noel is responsible for making sure that you are all making use of the product. So making sure that the product is working for you and making sure you're getting the most out of it. So she will start reaching out to a lot of you who she hasn't spoken to already. But her whole goal is to make sure that all these new features, all these cool functionalities, you are using them within your environment. And I think you can all attest to the fact that if you reach out to us, if you want additional training, if you want some additional assistance, we're going to help you. We're going to do our best to make sure that our product is adopted as well as it can in your organization. Last but not least, we got a ton of stuff to get through today, ranging from integrations to enhancements to forms to custom CSS to a lot of things that you've actually asked for. So I'm not actually going to go through this one by one because that's going to take up the next 5 minutes of the session. I'm actually going to share my screen and take you through what our product has to offer. Now, keeping in mind, some of you are on the latest version already and you pioneering these new features, which is amazing. Some of you are getting started with the tool for the very first time, and some of the stuff is going to be totally new to you. And then I can see there's a couple of you that have been using our product for a very long time. And I hope that you are upgrading to the latest versions. Last point on that before we get started is you can download these latest versions from the App Exchange, or you can contact Mike or Noel, and we will actually help you install those without any additional fees. We want to make sure that our product is as widely adopted as possible. And we will do those upgrades, we'll do those trainings with you without any issues and without any additional fees. Right, so this jumps straight into our demo. So I'm going to swap screens and then we can get rocking and rolling. Cool. If you can just let me know if you can see my screen and then we can get started. Are you all able to see the Sparksmiths Golf Getaway? Amazing. Okay, so let's get right into it. What makes the Salesforce Golf Getaway exciting is that it has a lot of our latest and greatest features. I am going to dissect those features as much as possible in today's session, bearing in mind that some of them require technical input, and that stuff we might just park, and I'll show you what it looks like. But the actual setup, we can have one-to-one sessions to actually get into. Now, the first thing about today's event is it's got a combination of some of our latest features and some pretty features that have been around for a while. And the first feature I'd like to take you through is basically the different tabs that we've now introduced into our system. So directly from the event itself, we have now introduced the concept of FAQs, and we've made these FAQs discoverable. So simply by clicking on them, you can actually bring up frequently asked questions, and you can have a dictionary of those FAQ questions, meaning that for events, you can reuse those, you can clone your events, you can reuse those FAQs as much as possible. This was a feature that was actually added in combination with one of our clients that have been using our tools for a lot of time. And they had noticed that they were creating custom tabs and adding FAQs, but the FAQ list was super long. So a simple request and a pretty cool feature, which allows you to actually hide the questions that people don't need to see. And when they need to read them, they can pop them up. Now, there's been a couple of additional enhancements on the back of that as well. One of those is not just the FAQ section. Another one is actually on the speaker side. The first enhancement is by hovering over these items, you can actually click through to them immediately. In our previous designs, we had the idea of having an ellipsis. You would click on the ellipsis and that would then render out the speakers and the sessions. But we noticed that on mobile devices, that wasn't as user-friendly as it could have been. So now we have the ability to simply click on that widget and pop up that speaker profile. One of the benefits of this is that that speaker profile also has the ability to embed images, and you can even control what these images look like. So we got squircles, we've got circles, we've got the general squares, and you can control that directly from the app itself. We also have the ability for you to do a LinkedIn link, and that was compliments of another client, just saying, guys, it would be really cool to, if somebody wants to have a bit more detail on that person, they can click through and view that immediately. So how is this set up? This is set up all through your event as per usual. And I'm going to take you through how to do that. Last but not least, on the agenda side, we also have the ability to simply hover over those agenda items and click through to them. You can obviously spruce this up and have images and whatever additional details you want, but you no longer have to be clicking on the ellipses to view that data. So this is just a much better mobile experience, but it's also a lot cleaner on the front end. So editing those components inside of Salesforce is super simple. Most of the stuff revolves around content. So when I click on content, you will see that we have our FAQ questions. Super easy. You can create new ones. You can reuse the FAQs. It's totally up to you as the user. We have our sessions, which are bookable, by the way. We discussed that in a previous release. But if you would like to schedule some time with us to discuss how you make sessions bookable, we're more than welcome to do that. And then you have your speakers. So what's new with speakers? A couple things. First of all, we have the speaker image URL. That can be uploaded to our system. So if you upload a speaker, it will automatically insert the URL. But if you do not have the rights to that image or you do not want to upload it into the system, you can also just embed the URL directly on the speaker profile and have that displayed. We also have the ability to decide how this is shown. So in our system, in our microsite, you have the ability to decide if you want it to be round, if you want it to be a squircle, which is kind of a square circle, or if you want it to just be the standard image. And we're going to get to that when we get to the actual styling of the pages, etc., etc. So those are the first super easy, quick wins. And that's why I started with that, because that is simple, quick wins that you can all, I know some of you are currently even running events with speakers and sessions and a custom FAQ, just like you can install the latest version and immediately you can upgrade that and start using that in your live events, which is a really cool part of our product. There's no essential downtime. The second user interface question that we've been getting quite a bit from our clients is around our up and coming event pages. So what do those up and coming event pages look like? So they basically the external calendar views. So they look something like this, right? And you can slice and dice them however you like. You can even insert GIFs, which is pretty cool. And you can have these views. You have different types. You can jump between lists. You can jump between contact. You can have calendars. If you've got a really busy event schedule coming up, you can even color code those based on the type of events you're running. But one of the questions we've been getting a lot from our clients is, guys, we have a calendar, which we call an organizing entity for our commercial brand. So for our private banking, we have another entity for our personal banking, or we have an entity for alumni, and we have another entity for our grad program. But what happens if we have events that are in the middle? So they dissect those two calendars. Well, I'm sure you're all going to smile because we now have the ability to create collections. So these are what we call event collections. And what they allow you to do is to take events from these different calendars, regardless of what those calendars are. Like, for instance, this calendar has a whole bunch of events with different styling. This calendar has a whole bunch of events with different styling. And I've chosen the ones that I want to display on my collection. And you can see we've got our executive dinner, we've got our golf day, we've got our banquets, and we've got a conference. And what that allows you to do then is it allows you to say, I've got some private events, I've got some public events, but I'm going to consolidate those in a view and not have to create a new organizing entity. So you do not have to create a new organizing entity to do this. It's done through clicks and not code. And that's what makes it pretty cool. So I'll show you how it works. You would click on event collections. You can create a new collection if you wanted to, but I'm going to reuse an existing one. You can see it adopts a lot of the config from the microsite, like the types of filters you want to apply, the selectable views, the theme. And then it's just as simple as linking your events to this entity. So we'll go, cool, we want to add a new event. And for this event, we will add the Work Better event. I'll click save. And if I go back to this page and I just refresh it, in real time, we should see that that Work Better event is now added to that entity. So this is obviously a super exciting new feature. It allows you to have a lot more flexibility without the need of recreating entities, which takes technical experience and it takes some time. Like I mentioned at the start of the session, just because I am seeing quite a few hands up, I will try my best to get through all these features and then get to your questions, just because we have quite a bit to cover today, if that's all good. Right, so we then have our entities. You can then click down on those entities and book for your different events. So what we're going to do is we're going to navigate back to our golf day, and we're going to play around a bit with this page. The first thing, we want to start looking at how we can actually edit the user interface. So this is all a page you're probably quite familiar with. We've got our agenda, we've got our speakers, we've got our FAQs, our venue with our Google Maps integration, as well as a Slido that's just allowing you to view that venue. We also have our sponsors. So one of the questions our events team has asked us is, guys, is it possible for us to either display some text here or hide the banner altogether? And that has been a question that a few of you have asked over the years. And to do that is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to navigate back to my event that I was just on. Click on my events and functions, click on my golf day. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my page section. So if I scroll down to my microsite, you'll see that there's a bunch of new checklists. And I think you're really going to like this. What this allows you to do is it allows you to automatically edit that interface without having to edit the microsite. Because if you edit the microsite, you might affect other events. So we made it super simple for you. Say, for instance, the event manager says, guys, this is awesome, but we don't want the banner. So now what you can do is you can go to this and you can say, cool. By clicking on here, I want to hide different things. So now I can hide the dates. I can hide the title event name. I can hide the tag. I can also hide the venue. I can hide the venue tab, the ticket types, and the speaker profile images. So you have quite a bit more control on what you're displaying or not. So if I bring back the title and I click save, what it will do is it will display it over the banner, which is fine because a lot of you don't use a custom banner like this. In your Salesforce environment, you don't actually add this custom banner. You might just have a color block that's displayed, and you then display this over that color block, which is absolutely fine. But for the ones that do use a custom banner, we have the ability to hide the title. We also have the ability to decide what of this is displayed. So you no longer have to display the date and the venue. You no longer have to display the tagline if you don't want. You also no longer have to display the name of the event. You can chop and change actually what you want that to look like. So for this, I'll basically say, cool, let me hide the event name. I'll click on that, click save, go back to this page. And sort of in real time, you'll see that that event name has disappeared. So you can see right over there, you've now got the date, the venue, the tagline, just like that. So again, we've got quite a lot of features that you can start playing around with on an event-specific level, with you being able to hide certain things and load those certain things, which is a pretty cool feature. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to update my screen using these checklists and click save. And I'm going to go back to the event that I was working on. And again, just to show you that the system is fully real time, when I refresh that, it has now hidden that title. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to register for this event. Okay, what do we notice? This event is a booking wizard event, which means it allows multiple bookings. It also means that I can add tickets, either free tickets or paid for tickets. And we're going to go through that right now. So I'm going to click register for my event. I am now going to register for myself and a colleague for a golf day. So I put in my details, I click next. Once I click next, one of the things you'll notice is that we have our tickets. So we've got a single ticket, we've got a duo ticket, and we've got a 4-ball. So we've made quite a few user enhancements for this release. The first one is the ability for you to show tickets remaining. Small feature, but I think a lot of you asked for it. This means that in real time, as I'm starting to select tickets, it will let me know how many are remaining. Another feature that a couple of customers really wanted was the ability to add discounts based on how many tickets were purchased. So if I purchase 3 or more of these single player tickets, I'll get a 20% off discount. If I purchase the duo package, 2 to 3 gives me 10%, 4 or more gives me 30%. I can also now customize even the text on the percentage discount. So if you don't want to have 4 or more gets 30%, you could say buy 4 and save a whopping 30%, like, spice that up a little bit. But how that works is, again, super easy. You go to your tickets like you would before. You select the ticket that you want to edit. So say, for instance, it's the 4-ball package. As I scroll down through this ticket, you'll notice that I do want to show sold out. So if a ticket does become sold out, it will keep the ticket in that view, but it will show it as a sold out ticket. That also helps with things like demand generation and those sort of things. You can set the quota on when you want it to display how many tickets are available. One of the inputs from our clients said, hey guys, my old system, if I had 1,000 tickets, it would show 1,000 tickets. It was really frustrating. So we took that advice and we said, cool, if we added the ability for you to set the minimum and then display it, would that help? And they were like, absolutely, because that helps create demand. There's no demand when there's 1,000 tickets available, right? So you can do that. You can also show if it's an unavailable. So if the ticket is not available, it can still be displayed, or you can hide it off the layout now. So you don't have to have that ticket floating around. It can immediately be hidden off the layout. Right. If I scroll a bit further down, you will also notice that if you are not using Booking Wizard, a new feature that we introduced with Booking Wizard a few releases ago is the ability for you to have a form per ticket. So if I purchase the single ticket, it might ask me 1 or 2 questions. If I purchase the group ticket, the form could be different, and the form could have additional questions specific to that ticket. Right, so for our 4-ball, we've got 2 different forms. We've got a form for the main booker and a simple form for the guest. We've got availability showing from 10 tickets. We're going to show when it's sold out, and we can see that it's got a price of 175 USD. But what happens if I want to add a group discount? Well, that's where our new feature pricing rules come into play. What pricing rules essentially allow you to do is, if I click on this pricing rule, you'll notice it's a 30% off, and it's based on a percentage. So right now, pricing rules are based on percentages. We will add additional functionality to whole numbers, exact values, etc. But right now, it's percentages. It will automatically prompt based on the minimum quantity and the percentage. So like I showed you in our event, it is basically saying, 2 or more gets you 30% off. If you want to edit that text, you can do that on the overview. So on the overview, you can simply go in there and you can edit that text. Okay, right. So if I want to add a new rule, what do? I click new. Super easy. We say 50% off rule. Minimum tickets, I would say, would be like 4. And we're going to put off 50. We then can say, what do we want to say? There's a huge discount over there. Well, let's put that like that and click save. And now my tickets will apply to that. So if I had to go to previous and I click next, hopefully it will refresh if I do that, or I might just have to refresh the screen, but it'll show a similar thing like this, where you say 2 to 3 and 4 and above. So when I do my next booking, you'll see what that looks like. Right, so what I'm going to do now is, if I go back to this page and I go back to the event itself, just click on this event itself, you will notice that for this event, there is a started booking. So that's another thing that Booking Wizard does really well, is it keeps the state of the booking. Whereas if somebody drops off using the standard form, then if they haven't started that booking, you kind of lose that information. So we've got that booking started, which basically means is if I abandon this booking altogether, so if I force a refresh on this booking, I can go back and actually find where I was. So I can go already registered and I can type in my email address because I want to continue from where I was. Depending on your security, what you've got set up, you can enable verification. So a verification code is going to be sent to me real soon. And that verification code I'm going to use. So there we go. So I'm going to grab this verification code, put that in there, submit. And now I'm going to be able to go back to my booking. So it's going to remember where I left off, and it's going to load up that information. Now you'll see that I can get my huge discount. And because I put a custom term there, I should have put like 4 and above, get your huge discount. So now I'm going to add my tickets. I'm going to add one of these single player tickets and maybe just a duo ticket. Click next. This is where things get real cool. So I'm going to say, I'm going to assign this ticket to me. And you'll notice a form pops up. Now, one of the things we've done with forms is we've worked quite hard on the spacing of those forms, particularly for checkboxes. Checkboxes now load on their own line. They don't intermingle with the other fields. If you've got a checkbox, it's going to load on its own line. So now it's preloaded the data for me, which is really helpful. So whatever it had, it's preloaded, and I'm just going to put in a fake phone number there, and I'm going to put my Sparksmiths. But this is where the magic happens. Travel requirements. Do you require some travel? Yes, I do. Bang. So there we go. There's our dynamic fields. So again, if I don't want to see that, I hide it. If I want to see that, I bring it back. I choose my preferred flight time, where I want to stay for my accommodation. And do I require a meal? Maybe I don't. If I do require a meal, I've got another field. So I've now completed my dynamic form, and I click continue. Cool. Now for the 2-ball, I can assign it to myself again. Remember, it remembers all my details, which is super helpful. And I can assign a new person, or I can leave it unassigned. Now, the unassigned is an old concept that we've had for a while, but it was a super important concept because a lot of our customers were saying to us, guys, tools that enforce you to choose people leads to bad data, or they drop off the cart. So this just allows you to leave it unassigned, and they can come back to it at a later stage and fill in that information. But if they want to come in here and put in some additional information, I'm going to capture one of my colleagues, Mike Bernardes. And he doesn't require travel, and he doesn't eat either. So I'm going to click continue and next. Now, one of the things that we did add to the system is an expiry as well. So this will also just let you know how much time you have for this transaction to take place. It also gives you a chance if you want to remove certain things off your transaction. So if you decide to say, cool, actually, I actually don't want that ticket, you can do that in your basket. Again, just making it super easy for the user to use that functionality. If I realize that I want to add something back, again, I can do that directly from the booking page. So I'm going to click next. Or actually, let's just quickly go back and let's add this ticket over here. And we'll assign the first one to me. And the other ones we'll just leave unassigned for now. We'll click next to go to our payments. You can see that both of these payments are due. And then you can decide if you want the comms to go to all of the delegates, because you might decide that only you want the comms. And do you want pricing to go to all of those delegates? right? So I can now pay now. And this is going to lead me to the next bit of functionality that we're going to show you in the system. Remember, these tickets can be free, so you don't need to have the pricing. If only transactions were this easy in real life, that would be pretty cool. So we've now purchased this basket, and it's going to refresh to our thank you page. So I can now, from this view, assign those tickets. I can view any up and coming events, and I can also create a new booking altogether. If I do need to create a new booking for myself, I can do that. Right. So what does this look like in the backend? So if I go to the backend of our app and I refresh this, my booking is now completed. And you'll notice that we have the group that's there. So we have Mike and Kyle, and you can see we have a payment record that was created. Cool. So going back to the details of that event, now we need to check those individuals in. And this has been something that you can do directly from your computer, you can do it from your phone, but you couldn't do it for groups of individuals. Now, how do you manage that process? How do you check groups of people into an event? So we've added a new feature, which is a group check-in. So if I scroll down to the bottom of the screen where we capture our check-in information, you can choose the mode. So the traditional mode was individual, which allows you to, each person, like each guest that registered for that event, they will receive their own QR codes, and you can check them in one by one, which is the traditional way of doing things. We have also added a new feature now, which allows you to check in a group of individuals. So if one person has a ticket for 10, we can check that one person in 10 times. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to show you what that looks like. So if you can just bear with me for 2 seconds, I'm actually going to share my phone and show you what that whole process looks like. I just want to get my phone sharing on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to save this as individual, just like that. And then I'm going to bring up my phone. Okay, awesome. So I've got my phone sharing. It will come up on the screen. But before I put it up on the screen, I just want to show you the email that's come in. So this is the email that's come in. It shows, thank you, Kyle, for booking for the golf day. This is your transaction information, as well as I will receive an email with a QR code. And I'm going to use that QR code to check in. So what we're going to do there is we're going to go back to our event, make sure it's on individual, and I'm going to share my phone now. So if I click here and I click share, okay. There's a little pip came up on the screen. And let's actually go and see what that looks like. So I'm just going to cheat quickly and go to the delegate record because I know the QR code's there. And I'll quickly show you how this works. Obviously, you would just do it directly from the email that's sent. So if I scan this QR code, you see how it asks me to now do this single check-in, which is the check-in that we're all very familiar with. But what I'm going to do in the back end of Salesforce is I'm going to go back to my event, and I'm going to change the check-in mechanism of this I'm going to say cool, group or express, save it as express. And then I'm going to go quickly to my delegate and I'm going to check. I never checked them in. Remember, I just went back and I'm going to scan this QR code again. Super quick. Oh, this just actually refreshed my screen. Cool. So now let's scan this. Great. Now this is a really cool feature. So it's brought up my list of check-ins. So now I don't have to check each one of Kyle's tickets in one by one. I can actually go, cool, Kyle, you're here for the golf day. You're going to play the morning session. And you're also going to play as part of the 4-ball. And only one of you have shown up, or all 4 of you have shown up. And I can then click check-in. So now I've successfully checked in. The next time I scan that QR, it will say, you've got no availability for the single ticket, and you've got 1 available slot for your 4-ball. So the last member of the 4-ball hasn't yet shown up for this event. So that is a super cool feature, and it's super quick. It's like near real time. You can run this on the standard check-in, or you can do it on this. So I'm going to say, cool, check in the last person, click finish. And if I scan this QR code again, I'm out of luck. I can't check in any more individuals. Okay, so maybe just a question on the check-in. So I know a lot of you have asked us, hey, what about all the cool work you do with Salesforce? I see you guys are doing a lot of their events. You're doing a lot of badge printing for them, that sort of stuff. That's actually, we have 2 apps. We have the browser-based application, which is really useful for those of you who don't need badge printing. So if you just want to have your event, you want to check people in either one at a time or in a group, then this browser-based system is amazing. If you want to do badge printing and you want to do fast check-in and all those sort of things, we do have an installable app. So with the installable app, you'll have to install that on your Android device or your Apple device. It can link up with a network, it can link up with printers, and it can do all that badge printing. Then on site at the event, you can do things like session scanning and check-in scanning and that sort of stuff. So that is just a distinguishing factor between what our on-site app does and what our browser app does. Our browser app will not allow you to do any badge printing. So that is a question we get very often. So I just wanted to make it clear. Okay, so let me just stop sharing this and bring back my main screen for you. Okay, so I'm going to refresh my delegate record. And now that I've refreshed my delegate record, you will see that a reminder is pending to be sent, and my status would have changed to attended. So if you click on the status and tracking, you can see now I've actually gone through that whole process. Just quickly refresh this. Cool. Now, one of the questions we get often is, hey guys, we've now created this whole check-in process. We've checked in Kyle. We've registered Kyle. He's registered a single ticket. He's also registered a group ticket. We've checked him in as like a single person. We've checked in the group of people. That's great. We can tell the difference between the mobile app and the web browser. We've seen that the UI is very customizable in terms of what we can display here. But one of the questions we get often is, can you embed custom CSS? Now, as part of one of our latest features, you actually can do that. So think about this as a standard clicks no code interface. Now with our system, if I click on custom CSS, you can basically build out a page to look however you want it to look. So you can see that we've got a totally custom background interface. It can link you back to your website wherever you want it to link to. But basically, this is the kind of difference that you can do inserting custom CSS, where you can slice and dice this page however you like to do that. Now, if you want to do custom CSS, best you maybe just run it past our team first, and we can tell you what CSS hooks that we can provide. Keeping in mind that the minute you start using custom CSS and you start intercepting how standard things work, you need to be able to maintain that. So we can give you the guidelines on the hooks. We can tell you what to look for, what not to look for. But if you break the page, you're going to have to just remove your CSS styling and kind of restart. That CSS stuff is going to be self-maintained, but you can make these pages look very vastly different to what the standard page would look like. Just to bring you back to a standard page versus a sort of custom CSS page. Okay. Right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk a bit about some of our dynamic fields. So you saw how it worked on the front end when I was registering, but how does it work in the back end? So what I'll do is I'll search for my forms. For those of you who don't know, you can actually just use the side panel to search. You don't have to always navigate back to the setup app. So what I'll do now is I'll click on dynamic forms. Dynamic forms only work with custom forms, not standard forms. So the difference with a custom form is you would add your custom fields. A standard form, if I can quickly find one for you, we give you a list of the fields to choose from. So this is going to be your standard form where you kind of just choose from the fields. And a custom form, you add fields. So let's have a look at how that form worked. There was a question, travel requirements. There was a question, do you need travel? So there was a title, sorry, travel requirements. And there was a question, do you require travel? So if I click on this field, this will look very similar to what you've all seen before. This is just a basic checkbox. You know, like, do you require travel? Now, what makes the dynamic fields is you can link them. So do you require travel? Yes. What are the fields that are linked? Preferred flight times and accommodation. So if I click on preferred flight times, you'll see that I add the value morning, afternoon, evening. And then I choose my controlling field. And my controlling field is, do you require travel? So it's super simple. On the child field, you put the controlling field label, and then you just choose what value you want. So in this case, you'll notice that that was a checkbox. So a checkbox is either ticked or unticked. It's true or it's false. So I say when that checkbox is true, then display the preferred flight time. If it was a pick list, you could say whatever the value was. So if the value was a yes, no value, then you could say yes. So if the controlling field was yes, then display this field and display this field's options. So we'll quickly look at, do you require a meal? So we'll click on this. And you'll see it's a yes, no. So it's child field, which is dietary requirements. If I click on that, you'll see it says when the controlling field, do you require meals? Okay, is yes, then display these fields. So again, this is a feature and a function that you can start using. You might already have it if you've been upgraded for the last couple weeks. You might already be using dynamic fields, but this really does make things a lot easier. And like I mentioned, with the latest version, we've also cleaned up how that all fits together. Okay, so going back to our event that we have created, our golf day. One of the features that we've also added is the ability for you to invite individuals to group events. So previously, you could only invite individuals to one-to-one events. So what is a one-to-one event? Some of you might be asking. A one-to-one event is where you use a standard registration form. So if I open up this, let's have a quick look at this event. This is our Sparksmiths executive dinner. And you will notice for our executive dinner, none of our tickets are active, which means that we are not using the booking wizard. We are using the standard registration form. And that's absolutely perfect. A lot of you will never need to use booking wizard, but you can jump between the standard registration form and the booking wizard. And what does that event look like? So this is our executive dinner event. You can see we've got a video embedded there. We've got our agenda. We've got some speakers. We've got some pretty cool speakers there. We've got our venue with a slider. And then we've got our FAQ. Now, if I register for this event, there we go. You've got the standard registration form. You don't have to go through the whole booking wizard. And it also supports dynamic forms. So do you require travel, in the morning, B&B? No. And I can click submit. So this is the standard booking tool. Right. So I wanted to show you this distinguishing factors between the two. Now, for group events, you always have been able to invite and make invitation only for our standard events. Another thing you've always been able to do for standard events is to allow people to update or cancel. Okay, you've always been able to do that. You've always been able to say update details or make no changes. But with Booking Wizard, now you can do the same. So with our golf day, if we want to invite a whole bunch of clients, a whole bunch of donors, a whole bunch of students to our golf day, we can do that. And our system will allow you to do enrollment. It will also allow you to do invitation. It will also allow you to do invitation only. And if you want the exact way that functions, let us know and we can add some more detail. You can now also decide whether an event can, for group booking, make no changes, update details, or update and cancel. So again, that's a really useful feature. I know a lot of you don't want to allow people to cancel. You would rather let them ask you about that cancellation than you actually go and canceling that on their behalf rather than them canceling it themselves. So that's a new feature that we have added. Right, so I know that we are getting close to time and there's still a few things I want to discuss. So one of those things is the microsite template itself. And on the microsite template, as you would have heard when I was explaining it a bit earlier, you can add a few more features. One of the features that you can add on the microsite template is the ability to hide the banner and the footer. So this is one of the things that quite a few people have actually asked for. So if I click site banner and I hide that, and I go back to our executive dinner as an example and refresh it, or our golf day rather, we now no longer require that banner. So there's no banner that's displayed. You can also hide the footer. So if you don't want the footer for whatever reason, you can absolutely get rid of that. Again, that's on the microsite template, pretty easy to do. I'll hide the footer for you now, and I'll refresh this event. And you'll see that there is no more footer. So I'm sure a few of you are clapping around that capability because you no longer require that. It's totally up to you on how you manage that banner. And that happens from the microsite section, just the FYI. Okay, awesome. Last but not least, we have also introduced a new integration mechanism for virtual events. Teams has been in beta for a long time. It is a bit more difficult to set up than Zoom and WebEx and those tools. So if you're on Zoom, that's super quick to set up. Teams does require some kind of like a Teams admin or a Microsoft admin for us to integrate with that layer, but this is now generally available. So you'll notice under our virtual platform connections, we actually have Zoom, we have WebEx, and now we have Teams. Very well documented. So if you guys are using Teams internally, and you want to start connecting it with your EventSpark implementation, we've got plenty documentation on that, or you can reach out to us and we can give you a hand on integrating those solutions. We are always open to additional integrations as well. So, if you are using other tools and you would like us to investigate that, just send that through to the support@sparksmith.com channel or email address, or email myself or Noel, and we will add that to our backlog, and hopefully we'll get to that as quick as we can. Okay, so that's about most of the features and functionalities that we have brought out for this release. It's very wide ranging. So it's touching on the UI aspects. It's touching on the integration aspects. It's touching on brand new features altogether that are enhancing the solution in a very collective way. It's touching on the discount mechanisms, so that volume-based discounting. And it's also touching on the ability for you to change the way Booking Wizard works. One of the things that I see there's a question around is vouchers versus discounts. So they're slightly different. So a voucher is something that is not working with group bookings right now. It's for single bookings. A voucher you generally issue to someone, and a voucher will then either discount the whole transaction, whereas the tiered based discount is on a ticket level. So it doesn't discount the whole transaction. It discounts whatever tickets are selected, and it's based on the volume. Whereas the voucher can be based on custom rules. It can be based on contacts, leads, delegates, etc., etc. One of the things we are working for our next release is to actually integrate vouchers and group discounts into the same boat. So you'll be able to use group discounts for your events if people are adding more tickets, and you'll also be able to add vouchers. But right now, those are two separate things. And I know that is a question that sort of came up in the session. Okay, so we do have 3 minutes left. So I might want to just skim through some of these questions and see if I can get you an answer on these as we go. Alternatively, if you want to put up your hand and ask a question, I'll be glad to assist that as well. Okay, so maybe one of these: can people register for an event for multiple teams with the same email? Yes, you can. So you can enable that capability for somebody to register with one email for multiple people. You can do that with group booking. You can also do that with the existing booking tool. There's just 1 or 2 features that we need to enable for that. How do we get a hold of the support team if we need any access? So you can email support@sparksmith.com. Noel's details will also be shared with all of you so that you can get a hold of her if required. I don't see FAQs on 3.5. How can I get a hold of it? So yeah, you need to install 3.5, get that installed in your environment. Make sure it's on your page layout, and then you'll be able to access that. Can we have conditional questions? Yeah, so that's kind of what I covered earlier. You can say if this, and remember, I showed you a checkbox, which is true or false. I showed you a pick list, which is yes, no, maybe, whatever values, but you can even use text. So you could say, if the text contains A, B, C, D, then make another field displayed. So it works on text, it works on checkbox, and it works on a pick list. Somebody was very happy with the new check-in feature, which is pretty cool. Can we have a meeting soon? Absolutely. Will we be recording and sharing the video? Absolutely, we will. Can we schedule training? Perfect. Training, anything you want to schedule. If you look in any emails we have with you, in the footer, there's a booking link. Click on the booking link. It will take you to the booking page and you can book training with us. Or contact support and the support team will be able to assist you. Yeah, most of these questions my team has sort of answered, so that's pretty rad. So I think that is perfect timing. We are on the hour. I know that was a lot of functionality that we've discussed in the last hour. Please, without any hesitation, get a hold of myself, get a hold of Noel at sparksmiths.com, or even just support@sparksmiths.com. The support team will send it through, and we'll get you guys all upgraded to the latest version. We will get you trained on the latest version so that you can make the most success possible out of using EventSpark. So on that note, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your support. And we will get this recording to you once it's complete. Goodbye, everyone. Appreciate it.